Hey everyone, and welcome to Already Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Star Trek The Next Generation Season 2, Episode 20. It's called The Emissary, so full spoilers for the episode as always. This episode features the Enterprise meeting up with a Klingon, half Klingon lady. Is that first? I think it's the first time I've encountered that, half human, half Klingon.
I believe so, yeah.
And their job, which is top secret, is to go to this Klingon ship that is about to wake up after a long hibernation period. And this Klingon ship has been asleep since the war between the Klingons and the Federation. So it's a bit of an issue because once they wake up, they're probably going to try and attack various places, not realizing we're at peace.
Stands to reason.
So that's what they're on their way to go do. And we were excited by that premise. It did mention there was a love interest element here where Worf knew this Klingon lady from his past, and unfortunately the episode actually does focus on that far more than anything else. Like, the actual issue of like dealing with this Klingon ship is almost an afterthought. It's almost just the last little bit of the episode.
It's frustrating because the stuff dealing with that I really like.
It's such an interesting concept. I went into this one quite positive feeling because I felt like, okay, I mean, there's a love interest part, but that'll be like the B plot of the episode, and the A plot's going to be actually dealing with the drama of, okay, these Klingons are going to be dangerous. How do we convince them that the war's really over? Because they're not going to believe it very easily. But unfortunately, that takes the back seat, and what we actually focus on for a good 75 to 80% of this episode is Worf feeling awkward because him and this lady have a past, her being kind of flirtatious, because this is the thing, because she's half human, she doesn't act like other Klingon, she does have a bit more of a feisty personality. And I thought the actress, at least in this makeup, she was giving me really Jenna Malone vibes. She's much taller than Jenna Malone, but I was getting the bottom half of the face.
I can see it, yeah.
Was very Jenna Malone to me.
Didn't come to mind while I was watching it, but I totally see where you're coming from.
I could this actress, actually, she's bulky enough. I could totally see her, like, obviously not now because she'll be much older, but like, I could see her playing like She-Hulk. Like, I was getting like She-Hulk vibes from the build, which is obviously, I think they did intentionally because obviously she's meant to be, Klingon, but they cast someone who was a bit bulkier. But anyway, so the episode's a mixed.
It's not the worst thing. It's like just.
I have to admit, I enjoyed last week's more, and
I did too.
And the IMDb average rating here led me to believe I'd like this one more by a significant margin, and I don't at all. I thought this was just okay. Had a couple of funny moments, some interesting little tidbits here or there, but unfortunately, what it actually focused on, I didn't think worked all that well. The actual flirtation with her trying to get a rise out of Worf, and Worf just kind of like not being happy with it. But then they kind of bond in the, and I like this part. I like that they set up his like training regime earlier in the season.
That was quite a while ago now.
Yeah.
Because and I did notice when she looked at the options, it had the Ascension ritual as one of them as well.
Oh, that's a nice touch. That's a really nice touch.
So I didn't catch the whole thing. There might have been others there as well, but there was the second one.
There was one that was like swimming in this specific place on Earth, and then there was one that was specifically on this other planet. Like, there was like, some.
I like that. Okay, there was something there that we had before, and then this that we have seen. I feel like it was right near the start of the season, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, it was him and Riker was sort of getting a taste for what his, what was it, calisthenics, he called it.
Yeah.
And she's doing that, and Worf, like, kind of snaps at Riker a little bit, and Picard, like, gives him the order to go and relax. And honestly, the most interesting stuff I had in this episode was whenever Worf would kind of, like, step out of line a little bit because he was getting antsy, and Picard would be like, no, Worf, how about you calm down? The bit
where Picard, tells him to, work with her just after she arrives, so whatever the order is specifically.
It's just to go and come up with alternative options and plans for negotiating with the Klingons when they find them.
Yeah, and he's like, can I recuse myself from this one? He's like, is there a personal reason why? He's like, yes. Is there a professional reason? No. Damn it, fine.
I would argue there is a professional reason, in the sense that, I mean, as we see when they actually try and work together, it devolves into a fight within about 2 minutes. So,
no, I guess the point is Picard expects the professionalism for him to be able to put aside the personal feelings and do his job.
Yes. But I think he'd also respect the honesty if Worf actually analysed it and went, you know what, no, I don't think we'll... I think this will have a professional impact because I feel like we're going to be distracted from the task at hand. It doesn't help that she actually goes in with the opinion of, nah, there's no other options. Like, we're going to have to just kill them because they're Klingons who are going to die warriors. That's the only option. So, but no, it's when he goes in to like watch her do these calisthenics and he ends up joining in. Like, I kind of like in my head, I'm thinking, okay, this is kind of erotic for them because they're both like, getting into this and getting sweaty. Yeah. And then we get this weird ritual, which I guess is Klingon sex. I mean, that's the way it plays for the rest of the episode. I would describe it as sniffing each other.
Yep.
With not much else, but maybe
Klingons are dogs, apparently.
Maybe there was more. Maybe there was more physical stuff like after it cut. We just saw the start of it.
That's reasonably likely.
Yeah, but Worf's an old-fashioned boy, and he expects them now to get married because they've had sex or whatever they're calling this.
Yeah, it's like you got to take the oath.
Got to take the oath. Yeah, so he yells out, and she's like, "No, this was nice, but it wasn't that. It wasn't a commitment." And he's like, "That's a human talk." He's like, "Well, I'm human. I'm half human."
She was like, "It's just a bit of fun. Just go with it."
Yeah. So they have this kind of falling out over it, to the point where Worf brings Data with him next time he has to see her. So there's like as it's put, a chaperone there, and Data's kind of confused by, well, that's not applicable in this situation. We're all officers here. We're here to do a job. Like,
she's just like, never mind.
Yes. So and. I did appreciate the dig that she had though with Troy, because Troy comes in and says, "Oh, you can see you're upset." It's like, "Oh, use your empath skills." I don't know why I was trying to add more to it. Use your empath skills to, or actually it says your Betazoid, sensibilities to pick that up. It's like, well, that also the broken table was a hint.
Pretty big giveaway, yeah.
This just stands to reason that 9 times out of 10 she's useless. Like, every so often she'll have a bit of insight that's valuable and actually is something we couldn't have already deduced on our own. But this is an example of
yeah. I'm convinced that this is the case.
Yes. So that was kind of amusing and whatever. And yes, once they eventually get to okay, we're going to run into these Klingons. They've just woken up. And they're discussing plans. The Klingons try and fire them immediately. Luckily, because this ship is pretty old now by their standards, their cloaking tech isn't as good. They can actually they've got some ways to track it that maybe they didn't have back in the day. That this is stuff that's kind of came apparent over time. People have discovered these exploits. Blah 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 blah. Yeah. Geordi's able to track it down. And Worf has an idea, and I always kind of assumed that the solution to this would be have Worf and her talk to them. And by the way, I've not said her name yet because I looked at it in the IMDb page and I don't know how to pronounce it, so I'm just not going to try.
Oh, I want to see this.
They said it a bunch of times. I can't remember what they said though. So, but the spin on it though is that Worf dresses in traditional Klingon gear and pretends to be the captain of the Enterprise to show that he's in power. Because the other Klingons would respect that, in theory. That would be more likely for them to accept it because it's like, hey, there's a Klingon in charge of an Enterprise ship. Well, clearly, we have equality, or if anything, we have the upper hand now, kind of thing.
Yeah,
you got to try in the name.
I'm looking at it. I'm like, do I want to try it? It looks like just Claire.
Maybe just be that. Yeah, Claire.
It feels like a really just broken up version of Claire.
Yeah.
To me, when I'm looking at it, that could be completely wrong.
But ultimately, this wins the day, though. They agree to stand down. Worf kind of plays a power play, which is actually set up nicely in the opening. Them playing poker on the ship, and Worf is really good at it because he's got a really stone cold face, and everyone around him can't. Obviously, Data is struggling and I like this is the second time we've seen them play poker, so it's kind of a running thing now at this point. Yeah. And they're having some fun at each other's expense, and Worf just wins everything. And
that scene ends with him going, Klingons never bluff.
Yeah, and the episode ends with him bluffing. So
yeah,
there's a little bit of an arc there, which is nice.
It's kind of fun as well, just to see him in full Klingon regalia, going for it.
Yeah. I think it's just a shame that so much of this focuses on the romance stuff that honestly isn't that engaging. It's not as fun or funny as I think, because last week it wasn't a good romance by any means, but it was at least funny. And
yes,
there was nothing
absolutely.
really about this that was funny. I mean, the biggest laugh I got was seeing her outfits at various points. Kalir's outfit, when she first walks in, this red outfit that's got like a little jacket on, but it's mostly like a catsuit. Like, this looks silly.
Yeah.
And then later on, when she's in the calisthenics stuff in the holodeck, she's got this weird outfit. It's got like an extra layer stuck on just one side of it. It was kind of weird.
That's a good way of describing it.
But I don't know. Like that was the most I was getting out of it. Is, oh, these outfits are ridiculous. Like someone went, oh, we used to look science fiction-y, so we'll do weird shit.
I liked some of the bits of talking about, you know, like just the Klingon culture in general, because I like learning that sort of stuff. But like just the bits where they were talking about, you know, like, okay, this oath that, you know, that okay, there was a maiden ritual, and as far as he's concerned, Klingons clearly don't have one night stands. Is what I got from this, and he's like, right, that's it. But yeah, we're good now.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. I get interested in the mythology of this stuff, but typically these parts of the mythology don't tend to interest me as much because it tends to come down to episodes like these where the romance stuff is kind of, you know, whatever. To me, the interesting stuff was, okay, debating how we convince these hardcore Klingons from before the war ended that, you know, how do we exploit their beliefs and the way they think about things and use that to convince them that, no, this is over and you can rest, you know, put down your arms because we're not fighting anymore. That's the part of the mythology in this episode that I thought was going to be really interesting, and it touches on it a little bit, but it's not the focus. It's just like and in fact, that's a couple of times. It's not been too frequent, but there's been a few episodes across, you know, this and original series where the interesting concept, the part that I think is the really meaty thing, that is like, oh, this is where all the ideas come from, is relegated to the B plot. and
those episodes are always some of the most frustrating. They're much more frustrating than just outright bad episodes.
Yes.
Because you can see the potential in them, and you can see what it could have been.
And it'd be one thing if the character drama in the A plot was really good for another reason. Like, let's say you had the character drama of, say, A Measure of a Man, you know, but with a really interesting B plot behind it. You wouldn't get as mad at that because, okay, the character drama is so goddamn good that I'm not even mad that they've relegated this other thing to the B plot. The problem here is that this is like, no, this A plot should be the B plot in a week episode. And you're putting...
Yeah, honestly, if you just swap these plots around in terms of the proportion of the episode they have, this could be a very good episode.
Yeah. You could, because I felt some repetition with the romance stuff. Honestly, you know, it felt like we'd had them kind of fight about how they feel, you know, and then there's the final scene where he escorts her to the transporter room and, you know, kicks out O'Brien so he can have like a final minute alone with her, which again is a little bit of an arc because he was scared to be alone with her earlier, and now he's actually requesting that, you know, or ordering even to be alone with her. And he does say sort of thoughtful goodbye before he beams her out, and I thought, okay, this is fine. Again, all these little things make it okay in terms of an arc because it's kind of, he's grown over the episode, but I'm just not ultimately that interested in the relationship, and because of that, it falls a little bit flat.
Pretty much. Like I say, it's not the worst episode, but has potential to be so much more. And coming off of even the last episode, which was not a traditionally good, you know, classic Star Trek episode, but it was a really fun episode in doing its romance plot.
Yeah.
And it kind of suffers, I think, even more coming off of that, where we've just seen an example of this done in an enjoyable way.
I think the other thing that's kind of bugs me is that I knew from the description from last week what the general premise of the episode was, and the start of this episode plays a lot of it mysteriously, where it's like, okay, we've had this call to go and answer this emergency beacon, we have to pick up this delegate. Okay, this is kind of weird. We have to pick them up from what's essentially a storage crate that's like been shot through space because it's
like a probe, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it's to keep it hush hush, like, so we don't want anyone knowing that this is happening. So this is why she's traveling this way. And I'm like, this is really building up the mystery of what this mission is. So for it to then not actually focus on the mission feels like almost like a bait and switch, because it's not so much that the mission itself is that surprising in what it is, but that first, you know, few minutes makes it feel like it's going to be really important. And then the rest of the episode doesn't treat it that way. It treats it as if, no, that's the background story, and this is the important part.
Yeah, that first 5 minutes was really good, though.
Oh, yeah, no, the actual build-up is great. But again, that's why I think the rest of it's kind of disappointing, because it doesn't treat the rest of the actual main plot like that.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's kind of frustrating.
So that's why I think ultimately this one I would put in the disappointing category for me.
I agree with that. Disappointing, but not terrible. Like there are worse episodes by far.
Yeah, because again we keep comparing it to last episode, but last episode didn't have the good ideas this one did, but it was far more entertaining. So ultimately, that'll always matter more, really.
Yeah, definitely.
When it comes down to it, so that's what it is. So we can tell you about what's coming next week, episode 21, the penultimate episode and the last real episode of the season, because I happen to know that the final episode of the season's a clip show. So
yes,
I'm sure we'll have fun trying to think of stuff to talk about on that one, because it may be kind of a late in terms of discussion. But next episode is called Peak Performance. And it's a very short description here. The crew of the Enterprise participates in war games. That's potential there, I guess. There's potential.
Yeah.
It's one of those ones that this could go either way. It's not rated particularly low or particularly high. It's so we'll see.
It could be alright then. We'll see.
We'll see how it shapes up. But there you go. That has been this week's Star Trek The Next Generation discussion. We'll be back next time with episode 21, but this has been episode 20. So let us know what you thought of this one in the comments below. You can like and subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on the Twitters at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. And you can support everything we do and this show by going to patreon.com/mailfuzztv and giving us as little as $1 per month to keep all the content coming. The $5 tier, you get these Star Trek discussions a week early, so maybe that's interesting to you. Worth mentioning as well that Picard, Star Trek Picard is about to start, and you can find reviews of that obviously on the YouTube channel. That'll be myself and Tara. You can also find the audio version on the Almost Cancelled TV Reviews feed, which you can also find as well if you go looking for that. So go and have a look-see. But that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys. Keep watching Star Trek. And remember, even though he's not been in a couple of episodes now in a row, which is actually...
We had the helmswoman instead.
Yeah, interesting. Well, he's been kind of missing. But remember, when it comes to the ladies, Wesley Crusher is in complete control.